Hi Taurus, it's Raina. I have a video here about 3 things that every Taurus should know in 2021. And it's slightly clickbaity, I'm going to admit, because some of these things, or I would say at least one out of the three, actually have already been in play for you before 2021. But first of all, it sounds good. It sounds like a sense of urgency, I guess. But also, a couple of them are things that are new that I don't necessarily talk about every time that I do a reading. And I do my monthly forecast, so I'm always talking about the current transits. But with Jupiter and Saturn, I'm not going to keep talking about the fact that they're in your 10th house. I've only been doing this because it's the beginning of the year. But in the first thing that I wanted to mention is that Uranus is in your sign, and this is the one that I was really referring to. Uranus did not just go into your sign in 2021. It's been there a couple of years. However, I'm looking right now to see, because I'm recording this on the 27th of January of 2021. And Uranus just went direct about, a little over a week ago. And it still is at that same 6 degrees that it was when it went retrograde. And we have Mars currently at 7 degrees, or no, now it's at 10 degrees of Taurus. So Mars is in your sign. Now, this is January of 2021, but Uranus is a longer transit by far than Mars, so that's the significance. And Uranus, the point I guess I'm trying to make is that it's only at 6 degrees. So if you have your sun, let's say at 22 degrees of Taurus, you might be saying, what is she talking about? There's nothing different in the way I feel or blah, blah, blah. Well, wait a couple of years when Uranus gets closer to that 22-degree mark, because then you might start feeling what some of your brothers and sister Taurians feel who have Taurus as their sun sign in the single digits, as their sun sign degree. In other words, they're closer to that 6-degree mark. They might be really feeling it. So, it is dependent on time, and some of you still aren't going to really know what it feels like for a couple of years. And what I mean by what it feels like is that Uranus is a very rebellious and eccentric, nonconformist energy. Taurus tends to be very, I wouldn't, maybe conservative, but definitely traditional. And we're talking about the typical Taurus person, not every single person on the planet who happens to be a Taurus. But a lot of Taurians are pretty by the book. And so the energy that Uranus represents is radically different. But it can be a breath of fresh air because as somebody who has Taurus rising, and I know that I'm going to include myself in this category, can get in a rut, can get into a comfort zone and want to stay there. And when I hear the word comfort zone, I'm like, you say that like it's a bad thing, It's like, hey, it's comfortable. What's wrong with being comfortable, right? Well, when we look at the meaning of life, and of course we all have our own ideas on that, but I agree with Abraham Hicks that we are here for the purpose of expansion, and that means that we have to stretch ourselves. We can't just, live life on default, where we're always just going back to certain experiences. We have to always be like wanting to bring in new energy into our lives or to avoid stagnation. So Anyway, this can certainly do that for you. And it can lead you to maybe even wanting to live in a different place, perhaps in a radically different place than you've wanted to live in the past. It could affect the way you dress. I mean, it could affect just about anything, the type of people that you surround yourself with. Number 2, you will have a lunar eclipse in your sign on November 19th of 2021. Now, the significance of this is that in 2021, there are going to continue to be eclipses in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. And this has happened in 2020, that you've had eclipses in these two signs. However, in November of 2021, on the 19th, you are going to have a lunar eclipse at 27 degrees of Taurus in your sign. And this is going to set the stage for 2022, when you will see eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. Now, I have not looked at the eclipses of 2022 yet, because I'm not that type of person that's always looking really far ahead. I'm kind of curious, now that I think about it, of what's going to happen. I'm assuming that there are going to be eclipses in Scorpio as well, because that's how it works. And Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus. But I mean, I can't say that I've actually seen it with my own two eyes, but I know that it has to be that way. So with this lunar eclipse in your sign on November 19th, the very fact that you have Uranus in your sign, it won't be a conjunction with that, because Uranus is not getting to that, anywhere near the 27 degree mark. But it just shows that you're undergoing a lot of change, Taurus. And this can have a very basic influence on your life, being in the first house, where, things may just be shifting quite radically. If the Taurus person is afraid of change or resistant to change, because you are a fixed sign, you might find yourself, rejecting it in some way, not embracing it. And I think that would be problematic, because one of the aspects of eclipses is that they're here, and that's the way it is, that you can't really do anything about it. They're change agents. They're bringing in experiences, circumstances that are faded in your life. And they go along with the transiting north and south nodes. And this is in order to, the transiting north node can show you what your destiny is in this time frame, or whatever you want to call it, this period in your life. So the North Node is going to transition over from Gemini to Taurus at some point. And I don't want to get caught up into that, because that's going to be, coming up in 2022. What I did want to say is that both having Uranus in your sign and now having eclipses like this in your sign can really show that you're changing, whether you like it or not. The other thing, too, is that a lunar eclipse is a powerful full moon, which means that the sun is in opposition at that time at the exact same degree. So I said 27 Taurus. That means that the sun at that time is at 27 Scorpio. That's your 7th house of committed partnership. And, but this is an example of how it differs, because I'm a late degree. I'm like, my rising sign is 26 Taurus. And it's actually, it may very well fall. Oh no, it is going to, because that's my rising sign. Okay, that's the cusp of my seventh house. Scratch that. Scratch what I just said. I was wrong. But anyway, so um, this means that this can affect your relationship as well. And for some of you, you may be realizing that you have to honor yourself more than you have in the past, that maybe you have allowed other people to, I don't want to say run roughshod over you, but have maybe you've been meeting their needs at the expense of your own needs. So that can shine a light on that issue. And then the third thing I want to say is that your career is highlighted this year. So Jupiter and Saturn are both in Aquarius. Now, as I record this, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening in that 10th house of career. Mercury retrograde. Venus is going there on February 1st. The Sun. New moon in February. So if you're listening in late January or February, this is going to really be front and center. For the rest of the year, you still have Venus and Mars. Oh, and in the summer time, there are going to be 2 full moons in Aquarius, one at 1 degree, one at 29 degrees. So the second one would be considered a blue moon. Now, I gave you a bad example a minute ago. I kind of didn't do that. About what I was trying to say is that just shows the difference between degree of rising sign. This is actually, this reading is more for the Sun in Taurus people. But I just wanted to explain based on my rising sign that my 10th house, or my midheaven 10th house cusp, is around, I can't remember if it's I think it's around 4 degrees of Aquarius, something like that. So the first of those full moons is actually falling in my 9th house. And the same thing would apply for your solar chart, depending on your sun sign degree. So, it's about really, I want you to acknowledge that, because this may not be exactly how it plays out for you, but it still will have a similar theme. And so, because your career is highlighted this year, with the 2 full moons in that sector, and which can be recognition, I think I said that, and then with Jupiter and Saturn, not to mention at the beginning of the year, all the concentration of Aquarius energy. If you are a Taurus person who is either completely confused about your direction in life, or, I don't know, just you're not really tuned into your career for some reason, you might want to really spend some time and make an effort to find out what it is that you want to do. Maybe that is the work that you need to do, and not so much building your career, but finding out what it should be. And I totally understand. Sometimes a person grows up and they're not encouraged to follow their dreams. Maybe they are dictated to, or maybe they just don't have this sense of themselves to be able to pursue things in a very direct manner. Some people drift through life because they feel like that's the way life is, and they don't realize that they can direct their energy towards specific goals. So at the very least, consider career matters. Maybe you're in high school listening to this, or 20 years old, and you feel like, okay, I've got this major and I'm not really going to start my career for several years. That may be entirely true, But there are other things that may go along with that that could still be employed by you to take advantage of this energy. One of them, I think, is a good idea, which is finding a way to work in that field. Like if it's just in the summertime, or you could do it all year round. So, for instance, if you're majoring in teaching, but you have never been in a classroom, you might want to apply as a teacher's assistant, and you get a bird's eye view of what it's like to be in that environment. Just taking courses doesn't prepare you for that. Now, of course, you do have, the teaching. You do train to become a teacher with student teaching, but by then, you may have invested all of your time and efforts, money, sinking it into becoming a teacher, because you don't become a student teacher until you've completed all your coursework. So that just goes to show that it's very good to get involved in that career to see if that's really truly where you want to be. And so you can always engage in it. And if you're poised to retire this year, what are you really retiring from? If you have been really looking forward to retirement because you had a job that was very demanding on your time, or maybe it was a long commute, or you just didn't really like the type of work you were doing, or you used to like it and then it changed into something that you didn't like, perhaps you might decide that you don't want to stop serving others in some capacity. And so it might just be a matter of having more time to yourself. There are so many variables, and that's what makes life so delicious, is the fact that we can't just assume it's going to play out one way versus another. But in any case, Taurus, I hope you found this interesting. I certainly have had fun doing these because I think that, things get neglected in the monthly forecasts that are important to mention. So thanks for listening. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.